If you've ever wondered how much content you'll need to produce before bringing in more sales, this video is going to give you a content strategy framework. So your content becomes a legacy building tool that continually brings in more sales. But first, we got to make sure we're on the exact same page with what content is. Content, first and foremost, is a legacy building tool. It is not a checklist. Everything that you put online is contributing to your legacy. It's a compound effect. Whether you change niches or industries, you are contributing to your legacy. And I've heard a pastor say before, inheritance is what you leave for someone, but a legacy is what you leave in someone. And I thought that was so profound because then it got me thinking about the speakers that we still listen to, like Jim Rohn and Bob Proctor. They're long gone, but we are still consuming their content because they have left a legacy, and that's something in us that we're still learning from them. And then there's people right now that are still here with us, but we already know they are leaving legacy content because we're going to still continue to consume their content long after they are gone. So I want you to start thinking about content as the long game, not just something that you're popping up and doing because you want to sell a program one time. We're talking about building a sustainable online business, a business that continue to produces whether you're here or not. And you can do all of that through content. Now, the second thing is that content is an ecosystem. The moment you start seeing content as an ecosystem, then you'll take all of the pressure off. Because right now you're seeing content as one individual post and having all of this pressure being put on to one post, thinking this one post has to do everything to bring in all the sales. And that's just not how it works. Every single piece of content works to support each other. And every single piece of content has a certain purpose to it in the online space. Some is meant to grow your audience, some is meant to nurture your audience, and other pieces of content are meant to sell or promote your offer. But they're all going to be working together. And what I see happening is more people have so many sales posts. They're only promoting an offer, but they're not growing or nurturing their actual audience. And so all that does is it tells people what you sell, but it doesn't actually tell people what it is you can truly do for them. And so content is meant to give your audience an entire picture of how you're going to be able to help them from start to finish. So that is why it is an ecosystem. Last but not least, what content is supposed to do, it's meant to communicate value. And if you are somebody who kind of is challenged by being able to communicate the value of your offer, that's only happening for one of two reasons. The first reason is you don't know what it is you bring to the table. It's very unclear, or you don't believe in what you bring to the table. And I think this is really essential to understand because this is the reason why you overthink. It's the reason why you over-explain when you do make a piece of content, or why you're second guessing, or why you feel overwhelmed when you're thinking about content because you're thinking about it in such an isolated way. And now you either don't know the value you bring to the table, or you aren't clear about what that is and you don't believe in it. So then you end up shrinking your voice. And then when you shrink your voice, you become worried about what other people might think about you. Now you're worried about rejection, worry about being judged by other people. And so all of that is putting a barrier between you and your audience from truly connecting with you because you've got all these other things going on in your mind and you're not actually able to deliver value. But when you learn how to create a signature framework, you solve both of those problems. Because a signature framework is something that structures your ideas and your thought processes. It structures the concepts, your actual message that you are putting online. And when you have a clear structure, that means your audience is clear too. So if you're already somebody who knows that you want to dive deeper into really creating your own signature framework, join my upcoming challenge. It's the Content Authority Blueprint Challenge. I'll drop a link down below, but I'm going to help you implement everything I'm teaching you in this video. That challenge is going to be about helping you actually implement it for your own business. And there's VIP tickets, which will actually allow you to ask questions, and I can answer them very specifically for your business. So what are these actual frameworks here. Let me get to it. Um, I just think it's so essential that we understand what's been happening is that you've been adopting other people's frameworks, but you yourself have been unclear. And when you adopt another person's framework, and you're still unclear, then you end up being more unclear because you don't even know how to implement it. So I want to be clear that what we're actually creating here is your own signature framework. I'm not going to give you my framework to operate from. I'm going to help you create your own. And when you have your own framework and you're clear on your value and you believe in it and you have a way to actually structure it, now you can apply another person's framework to what you already have. But if you're unclear, then it's difficult to apply other storytelling principles or other frameworks to even be able to produce that online. And a lot of people are just following what other people are doing and using their framework, but the foundation in which you're creating from is already unclear. So this is going to help you get clear on all of that. So here's the first thing that you want to do when you are creating your own framework is you want to identify the end result. So what end result do you help your audience to achieve? Now, if you don't know the end result, then it's really important that you get clear on that because this is a part of how frameworks are built is you actually have to know the structure that is helping your person to get a result or some kind of a solution. So make sure you know. So identify the end result. Now, the second thing you want to do is reflect on your process. What are the actual steps that you have taken yourself through or that you've taken other people through in order to get the results? And I want you to think more big picture here. Think about the very big buckets, the very big steps in order to get this result. Then number three is you want to extract the core pillars. So when you think about the actual process that you've taken yourself through, now what was the core of that? What was the actual core pillars, like those really big dominoes that came out of that process? That is really important because this is really going to allow you to feel more anchored when you are creating your content. So understanding these core pillars is such a big piece. Then number four, you want to define the micro steps within each pillar. Now, what I find with people who overthink, people who overanalyze and have a lot of content ideas and are really in the weeds because they're such experts is that we tend to think in a nuance and you tend to think about all of the micro details that don't yet matter to your audience. And so you end up creating content in a way that is so detailed, it's going over your audience's head. They don't quite understand because they're not in it the way you are. And so you're speaking from your expert lens and they don't understand at all. And so this is why you want to also have these core pillars, which is the very big buckets, the bigger steps that you take people through. And then you actually have these micro steps, and these micro steps help to support and create the foundation. And this will all make sense towards the end because what you're going to see here is everything has to connect. And what we're building is structure. What we're building is a frame. I want you to just think about right now if you had all of this furniture that it's just beautiful furniture, you're about to move into your house, but the house isn't even built yet. And now you have all of these pieces and you're like, oh, I've got all this furniture. And you go put it on your plot of land. It like the furniture just doesn't even have any meaning. People don't understand because there's no rooms. There's no walls. There's no structure to the house. There's no belonging for that furniture. So now you're thinking in nuances and like micro details that your people don't understand. And they're looking at this furniture and they're like, it's not making any sense. But when you have a framework, this is how you're going to organize and position each piece of your content into its pillar or each chair or bed or whatever furniture into the correct room of the house. All right, number five is you want to name each content pillar. Now, when you name something, you help create an identifier for it. You help to give it an action steps. And when you name something, you want to create it, or I should say, name it in an action step. So Right now, my action steps here to help you is identify, that's an action, or reflect, that's also an action, extract, define, name each pillar. These are all action-based words because what you're doing is you're telling your audience what the next step is that they need, and you're going to help it make sense in their head. Because if they can't see what you are saying, then they're not going to believe in the fact that you can actually help them. So name each pillar and make it an action step. Okay. Number 6 is you want to test this framework in your content. So when you have a content idea, or a thought or a concept. Let's say you had a conversation with a client and you're like, "Ooh, that's really good." Well, the first thing you're going to have to do is this a big bucket? Is this a core pillar or is this a micro step? Because if it's a micro step, then you're going to have to connect it back to the core pillar. Because if it's not connected to a core pillar, then that means it's too deep in the weeds. It's way too nuanced for your audience to understand. And so I want you to think about when you first have an idea, if you don't know what to do with that idea, or you don't know where it goes, or you think that that one content idea is like scattered and far left, it's likely not far left. It's just that you don't have a content pillar to connect it to, or I should say a core pillar for you to connect it back to. And that's why it's unclear online, because it's unclear in your own head. So I think it's really important that you understand that these are the steps to creating a framework. Because when you have a frame, now you have a way about speaking about what you do in a way that your audience understands. And I can get super nuanced into all of this, but this is such a great place to start. And I'm going to be going over in way more nuanced detail inside of the Content Authority Blueprint Challenge. But utilize these 6 steps. Take a look at the content that you've been creating already and ask yourself, do you know the end result? Have you reflected on your own process that you've taken yourself through to get that result, or that you've taken other people through? And do you have core pillars? Like, do you understand what is the actual essence, the foundation of what you're doing? Or I should say, of what you're saying. And then when you define these actual micro steps, are you able to see what tools you're using, what concepts you're having to support people with? And then naming each pillar, and then being able to test this out. If you are somebody right now that is thinking to yourself, man, I have been producing so much content, but I'm not gaining any traction, I guarantee you it's because you don't have a clear way of thinking, which means you don't have a clear way of producing your content. Really good content comes from our ability to think clearly and our ability to position it so that way your audience can see what you are saying. And the moment that you start doing this in every single piece of your content, now you're creating that content ecosystem. Now your content becomes a legacy building tool, and you're no longer just creating one piece of content hoping it makes a sale. You actually start to understand that all of your content is working together cohesively to be this legacy building tool that will continually bring in sales into your business, whether that is leads or clients, collabs, or speaking engagements. You're going to be able to now take this and create written content, video content, and speak on stages once you realize that this is actually how you are able to guide your audience into wherever you want to guide them. I trust this video serves you and blesses you. I will leave a link down below in order for you to join the Content Authority Blueprint Challenge, and I will leave a video right here somewhere on the screen for you to check out the next video. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.